government also is to blame because they say we've left our refineries to really go on that to the extent that we really don't have any refineries standing again. So if we had refineries, even the Benin Republic will be doing Big Brother to them, legally speaking.
You see, this refinery argument is the biggest myth of all, the fuel subsidy argument.
How is that?
Even if we had 20 refineries, all producing petrol and selling it as even 50 naira, that is the more reason why the petrol should go across the border, because they're producing more volumes of it available at a lower price. The whole argument about refineries is almost stupid, because we're trying to make it seem that refineries can be used to justify wrong pricing. If refineries produce more volumes of Nigerian petrol and sell it at a very low price, then our fuel will even go as far as Ivory Coast, even to Kenya.
In other words, the government is not willing to fix the refinery.
One more thing, I'm saying that even when you fix the refinery, if the price is wrong and you make the petrol cheap, it will still go across the border. Don't get me wrong. Now, the point I'm making is that it's not about whether you refine it yourself or not. In any case, refining margins all over the world are thin. That's why most of the oil majors have left refining. That you refine it locally means that you import less. But if Nigeria is producing 2.5 billion barrels of oil a day, and even if you now refine a billion locally and sell at the wrong price, it goes across the border.
But if your citizens are okay and doing well, and you as a nation is doing well, what's your business if it goes across the border? Then you make the little money you can make.
Let me explain. 2.5 billion barrels, let's assume we produce so much oil. If we consume 0.5 billion refined locally, and half of it goes across the border, and the price is very low, eventually the demand keeps growing because it's going to more and more countries. I have taken fuel before from Nigeria to Ghana. In those days, I used to drive to Ghana. You know how? Because fuel was expensive across the border, so you buy enough in jerry cans, fill your car, so that throughout your stay in Ghana, you drive on Nigerian fuel. The point I'm making is that refineries, even if they're working, don't solve the problem, because if you have wrong pricing, the product will still go across the border. Who in Yobe is so stupid to get petrol at 65 naira when they can cross the border? Do we even have borders in Nigeria? Have you wandered around all those states? Nigeria has about 16 states that have land borders with Benin, with Cameroon, everybody. Some of those states, when you get there, you have to ask when you're walking on the ground, am I in Nigeria now or am I in Chad? You don't even know.
Okay, but
so my point, please, let's just be very clear on the issue of refineries.
Yeah.
The second thing is that if you have this system where refined petrol sells at below world market price, that is the more reason why the private sector will not build refineries. So we are therefore dependent indefinitely on NNPC to be the only one to own refineries. And with all due respect to NNPC and the government, they have no business being in business. There are 100 countries in this world where the government don't own a single refinery and they have fuel being sold every day.
Mr. Peterside, in fairness to the Nigerian populace, they have begun to accept that deregulation is something that is good for them. I mean, we had a critic here, an analyst yesterday, and I asked him point blank, do you support deregulation of the oil downstream sector? And he said only an idiot wouldn't. It's just a matter of about first things first. A host of people feel that the federal government hasn't put in place the framework which it needs to put in place. It hasn't shown that it is indeed interested in fighting the corruption, which is so claims that we should fight. These are the things that people think that should come first. Show us that you two are sacrificing. For instance, how come to date we still do not know how much a senator earns? How come to date we don't know how much members of the national, the executive council, the federal executive council earn? These are the things that people are saying. Tell us first. Show us that you're making sacrifices before you actually begin to ask us to make sacrifices.
I'm the first person that told you that you should drag David Mark into this studio and ask him to tell us how they sacrifice.
That is very true.
Listen, when you go to a doctor, typically, perhaps you're a young lady, so you don't have many ailments. If you're my age, you have many ailments. You may have a headache, you may have stomach pain and everything. When you go to a doctor, which ailment do you tell him first? Is it the biggest one, or you tell him the minor one first? The point I mean that the single biggest area of corruption and wastage in Nigeria is 1.3 trillion of money that belongs to the poor in Bayelsa, Jigawa, Yobe, being consumed by the rich in Lagos and neighboring countries.
Which a host of people say is arguable in the sense that we did not even, by the time we actually look at the matter, the Senate was looking at the matter, we did not even have to spend that much. Maybe we only needed about half, or maybe even way less, because people are saying, how come it went from 240 billion naira a year ago or 2 years ago to 1.3 trillion?
Let me give you the answer to your question. The wider the disparity between your price of petrol in Nigeria and neighboring countries, the more of it goes outside your country. So as the disparity got wider and wider, now it was as wide as 65 naira versus 170. So more of it goes across the border.
Is that the fault of Lagosians?
It is the fault. It is the fault of a system that tries to deceive itself that you can police borders that you cannot police. Our land borders are just too vast to police. In any case, should our security agents be wasting their time chasing people carrying jerry cans of petrol across the border, or should they face Boko Haram? Right now, nobody is carrying fuel again because you stand to gain nothing. So let them now focus on Boko Haram and more serious things than chasing some little timers, taking kerosene across the border.
With respect to the budget, which one do you think we're operating now? 2012 or 2011?
I'm not an expert on the budget timetable.
No, because
as far as I'm concerned, the 2011 budget, as far as I know, we have made the profession and everything. Now, of course, government does not stop because you still have to pay salaries and so on and so forth. But the point I'm making is that I'm in favor of government deciding that in 2012, distribute this money to the various arms of government. Let each person design his own policy. So therefore, let's Rivers State design its own fuel subsidy. Give vouchers to my parents.
Yeah, but
to buy fuel.
I know we're going to the newsroom, but when we come back, there are a couple of other issues that Chamberlain he should actually address.
Ask me any issue.
Yes, if you talk about you mentioned the EFCC, and we know about almost all the cases with the EFCC concerning governors, concerning local government chairmen.
Let's talk about EFCC judiciary.
And you still want this money to go back to these people to manage.
I want the money taken away from them and given to the governments and to the LGS to manage, not to NNPC.
That's what I mean. The governors, even the NNPC seem to be better than the governors. Almost all the governors, by the time they leave offices, we get to see them before the EFCC. And the huge amount of money with which we're told that they have embezzled is
mind-boggling. The money to the rightful owner. Let the NNPC only worry about the federal government share.
Would it be okay for the rightful owner to consume the money?
Of course not, but it is his to decide how let his populace tell him how he should consume the money in his own state. The money belongs to him. Give it to him.
As a reputable businessman, you do know that there are so many factors that need to be considered before taking even an economically correct decision.
Sure.
But at the moment, they've taken this decision such that the citizenry seems to be asking perhaps more questions than ever. Because eventually, if Labour goes on strike on Monday, the economy loses, people out there have to suffer. But now a group of people have gone to court. They say the operational budget at the moment is a 2011 budget, for which 240 billion, even though they say they ended up spending far much more than that, is budgeted for that. And so we're going to find ourselves going back.
I'm also willing to go to court to demand the opposite, that the federal government of Nigeria, through NNPC and the Minister of Petroleum Resources, has no business spending 1.1 trillion or 1.3 trillion of money that does not belong to them. I have done the numbers. In the 2012 budget, my own state, Rivers State, should get an additional 50 billion on account of the removal of the subsidy. That money belongs to us. I will also go to court to demand that the money be given to us, not given to Lagosians like myself who live in Lagos. The money should go to the poor in my own state as well. So let's all go to court.
How is the money being given to Lagosians, Mr. Peterside?
Because I go with my car and consume. Because I go with my car. I have a boat. I buy petrol from my boat and I consume it as well. My point is that
from Rivers State, living in Lagos.
True, but my point is that exclude people like me from that subsidy. That's why I said I prefer a fuel voucher system. Don't give me subsidized petrol to put in my boat in Lagos.
Is it not possible
money that belongs to the poor in my state?